Okay, let's go on to new business, payment of bills.
There were some questions submitted. Scott, do you want to address those, please?
Sure. Mary Ann, if you could please go to Board Book 102. First question was submitted on football transportation. This was the cost associated for our team to travel to Wakanda for the away football game on September 1st. The next question was submitted on Board Book page 103. Also transportation under the music department, towards the top of the page. This was the cost associated for our students to attend the Von Steuben Day Parade.
So were they just regular school buses and they just...
These were regular school
service
buses.
longer and it cost more? Okay.
The Von Steuben one, that was 4 buses, and then our football one was, I believe, 4 buses also.
Thank you.
Okay, Board Book 105, the pre-bill purchase service for LADSI. I went through this with our special ed director and double-checked our purchase service on it to make sure that we were billed correctly. This is exactly what we were billed for, our service that was needed within our special ed department to meet the needs of our students.
How does, is that a lot more than we paid in prior years, though?
This one varies depending on...
$400,000.
It really does vary on the needs, what particular service is needed. For example, a nurse, you got to add a one-on-one nurse. The cost can really go up quick. Speech path, and of course these costs fluctuate with what the price is through LADSI, the co-op.
Plus, if the Board of Education remembers, last year we were under budgeted almost $100,000
Right.
in LADSI. And so the actual amount was closer to this. That's why you probably don't, this does seem a little high.
Okay.
So this is pre-bill, so what is this length of service or time frame for this 400,000?
It's for the entire year.
For the upcoming
year or
whole
the
year?
past
This is
year?
from, yeah, for this school year, yes.
So LADSI looks for their money ahead of time?
They work a little differently compared to districts. They have the upfront charge and still have to meet their payroll, because really these employees are their employees on it, so that's what they look for, the upfront to help with it, especially with the state kind of being still delinquent on payments.
So we take the money out of our account and give it to them. They're going to spend it for the next 12 months, and we're paying them up front.
Yes.
That's risky when Gary was asking risky questions.
You know, one thing that I think, apologize going side, but we probably, should we not, as a district, maybe a board would want to see their financials?
Yeah, we do get
I
know you're
on the board. I get a
you
copy of their audit if the board would like to see that. I can get that.
And their budget?
Yes. Yes. And their budget, here's where this, for the new board members especially, here's where this gets sticky. They asked for us in February what we think we're going to need for the upcoming school year, because they have a teacher's contract and they have to riff and follow all the same timelines we do by March. So we do the best we can to try to get our 8th grade numbers. That's what drives 8th grade and transfers, because we know the students that we already have here. So the problem is when we get 8th grade, incoming 8th grade, if all of our 8th grade annual reviews aren't completed, which there's no way they can be completed before February. Or when you get transfers, if a transfer moves into the district that needs special services that we don't provide, that's where you then have to add more on to LADSI. And so that's why they're always trying to run a tight budget, because the directing board is on them about not carrying any extra people, any extra psychs, any extra nurses. And so then they have to scramble and hire people over the summer.
So we estimated that this bill is based on we estimated our services are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if we use less services? Do we get a refund?
You do not.
What happens if we use more services?
Then we get charged additional.
seems like a great deal if you're Ladsey. Seems like a pretty bad deal if you're District 208, doesn't it?
I understand the.
Or I hope we always underestimate.
Yeah, unless we're saying we need 300,000.
We usually underestimate. That's where I think we got caught a little last year, being more than $100,000 under budget.
Well, their system requires you to do that.
Right.
We'd be stupid not to do it,
Mhm.
right? Why would we pay them up front? And if we don't use it, they keep it. But if we don't pay them up front, we pay them based on what's due. Right?
Right.
That's.
But if you think about our numbers last year, I'm just using the example. Last year, we were under budget, or we under budgeted. So all those students are back. So so we know that those students are returning, those services are required. So there's not a real way to underestimate, you know what I'm saying?
But also the cost of hiring those actual employees into this district would be much greater than this cost that we bear to Ladsey, correct?
Well, that's why we use it. But
Right.
we still shouldn't pay more than what the services we get, whether the cost is cheaper or not. That's
But
why we use them.
But we are able, Scott's accurate in saying, if they hire a nurse and we start the school year and then all of a sudden a student transfers out and we don't need a nurse, they will work with us if they can transfer that nurse to another district. It's not like we just have a nurse, or that nurse then has to, we have somebody providing additional services or helping us perform services here. We have had the ability, though, where we, this year, where we locked in a few people, and then we reevaluated our programs, and they had some vacancies, and we were able to get out of those agreements. So we didn't have to fill those positions, we changed them. So when he's accurate when saying, yes, if we started the school year and they gave us a nurse, we'd have to pay for that nurse unless they could reassign that nurse to another district or somebody else's need opened up, which they do work with us on that kind of stuff, and all the districts.
Thank you.
Next question was on Board Book 106, Oak Brook Park District Tennis Center. We did have to have a few dates out there to use their courts as our courts were getting finished. Roughly 6 dates on that. And that was in early August. Board Book 112 and 113 on lawnmower rental. The current lawnmower that we had was in the repair shop, and this was early on when the grass was growing, and we had to have a rental until our regular mower got
Went for $832.
for the rental.
We paid $832 to rent the lawnmower. What kind of lawnmower did we rent?
It was the big mower to cut all the fields,
Like
the 50-inch cut one.
a rider?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That you
rider.
can buy for about $1,500?
Not that particular one that we currently have. It's much more than 1,500.
I think Tim wants Forrest Gump out there.
There you go.
Board Book 113 for Home Depot. Various supplies purchased by our operations department, ranging from sprinklers, the padlocks, the plumbing supplies, whatever necessary things are needed to keep the day-to-day stuff going.
These are Joel makes those.
Joel makes those purchases.
Okay.
Board Book 114, Riverside Foods. This is all the supplies associated with the foods and nutrition classes that are out there. This is basically our course fees are used to cover the supplies out there. This is our instructor going there and getting basically whatever is needed to run whatever the upcoming items they'll be cooking.
I appreciate that she shops in Riverside and Brookfield for those things, that she goes to Riverside Foods. That's awesome. She could probably go anywhere and maybe even get it cheaper, right? But
I think that was it on the questions, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Scott, we'll go back to Lansing real quick. So the pre-bill is this 432, Is there a chance that they can see an additional bill for any remaining services? Our
If-
budget account was a little more than 430 this year.
Yes, but that also takes into effect extended school year cost and then the administrative consolidated cost that LADC gives you.
Okay.
The only way that we would see more is if we request additional service, and then that would be a separate invoice on that.
Okay.
But it doesn't include the transportation, because they hit us for that too, right?
That's a totally separate,
And some of this we do receive reimbursements from.
yes.
Okay.
Question, are they required to have public statements out there that we can see on a website or anything, their statements?
I believe they post their minutes, because when we have the directing board meetings, we run it just very similar to a board meeting. There's visitor comments, there's a separate closed session, there's resolutions. So I believe they have the website that has those, but if not, Scott can get a copy of their budget and audit.
I'll check with their business manager. and get
Yeah.
it.
But I would imagine they have to post their
They
minutes.
have a finances tab.
Okay. All right, we already did the resolution for the for the bills. No, we did not? So can we get a resolution for the payment of bills? Somebody want to read it?
Hold on, I'm getting to it. Resolved, the Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves the payment of bills as presented and listed in the October 10, 2017 Board Agenda Packet.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Go for the vote, Marion.
Ms. Towner?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Sierra?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.